Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson, also on BrightShine, right here in the city of Memphis, in the county, state of Tennessee. Date is Sunday morning, June the 2nd, 2024. The time is 11:37 a.m. First, I thank all my family support for you. Continue to support, continue to keep myself employed in the Memphis area, continue to further my education, moral cause online, continue to pursue my social research, be administrator, country and market, print time, to go back and go to school. And very in the future, I'm going to go back to moral cause online, continue pursue my social research, be administrator, country and market. Now, what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to start my Facebook Live. Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson. Also on the BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis. It's in the county, state of Tennessee. Date is Sunday morning, June the 2nd, 2024. The time is 11:38 a.m. First, I thank my family support for me. Continue to support, continue to keep myself employed in the Memphis tri-state area, continue to further my education. Moral cause online, continue to pursue my social degree, study being administration, country and market. Print time, I took a break and go to school. In the future, I'm gonna go back to moral cause online, continue to pursue my social degree, study being administration, country and market. Now, gonna continue to make sure, based on what modern, contemporary, and modern scholarship, as well as, and most important, also just as important, is the church fathers in the Catholic Church. Way back in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd century, had identified the Gnostics as being Jewish. As being Jewish. Now, when we say Jewish, now we don't get in, we don't negate the fact that it's also being said that when you identify the Jewish people at that time, there was like sects, Jewish sects, S-E-C-T, sects. And so when we continue to talk about Judaism, we know that Judaism is a monotheistic religion, meaning belief in one God. You know, that one God is omnipotent, meaning all powerful. Omniscient, meaning all knowing. And omnipresent, meaning God is in and everywhere. And so, and we want to make sure we don't negate the fact this in Jewish belief, they consider the word Yahweh to be sacred, and it's so sacred that that tetragrammaton is sacred. They won't even say it. It's sacred. They spell it Y-H-W-H, not just the way general public spell it, Y-A-H-W-E-H, the way the Jewish people spell it, by being a sacred word, the tetragrammaton. They spell it Y-H-W-H. And so, from the Old Testament, the old names of God: Adonai, Jehovah. Oh, wait a minute. I got to click on the wrong. Wait a minute. I'm on the wrong tab. I was still on the New Testament tab. I'm on the Old Testament tab. Elohim. Now we got the Yahweh, Nisi, and the tetragrammaton Rapha, and again that tetragrammaton Siginu, and Jehovah, Alpha K Omega, Megan, And El Shaddai, Shalom, and that tetragrammaton by itself. El Elyon, the Lord who sacrifices. No, the Lord who sanctifies, excuse me. Yeah, Lord who sanctifies. And El K. And Adonai, Jehovah Jireh. Yeah, Jehovah Jireh. And again, the tetragrammaton, Shaman. And El Olam, El Gibor. And again, the tetragrammaton, Roy. Now those are Old Testament names of God. In the Old Testament of the Holy Bible. Now let me click up now that I was on the wrong tab. Now let me click over to the other tab. The New Testament names of God. Adonai, Jehovah, Siddiqenu, the Lord, our banner. Elohim, Sabaoth, God with us. Elohim, Jehovah Rapha. And that tetragrammaton, the Lord who sanctifies, God, Emmanuel, El Shaddai, El, the God Most High, Christ, and Abba. Now, those are New Testament names of God, because the Old Testament, God from the Old Testament and the God from the New Testament, same God, monotheistic. Now, I ain't finna deal with this BibleStudyTool.com, right? But we can go to BibleStudyTool.com, because every time I click over these versions, this, for some, BibleStudyTool.com, but this ads and all this, so I'm not gonna be bothered with that. But all the various versions of the Bible, and and you got the the best known translation. Then you got the other translations. Then you got your older translations, like the American Standard Version, the Darby translation, the Dewey Reams Catholic Bible, Revised Standard Version, and all that, Tyndale, the Latin Vulgate, the Webster Bible, and the Wycliffe Bible. Then you got New Testament only. Then you got Spanish, Portuguese, French, German, Italian, Dutch, and Chinese. That's BibleStudyTool.com. All the available versions of the Holy Bible. Now, Bible Gateway, same thing. Available versions of the Bible. All the way from A to Z. All the way from A to Z. In all these various languages, the Holy Bible has been translated. And a lot of these Bibles, they include, there are many Bibles that include the Deuterotanical books, and so, those Deuterocanical books, like, those other books of the Bible and all this stuff, But the Deuterocanical books, they are included in many other versions of the Holy Bible. Now, like I said, we had these Old Testament, New Testament. And let me say this while I'm starting my video. First, last weekend, Monday, this past Monday was Memorial Day. Myself, as well as others, we celebrated Memorial Day. As you can see my picture back there, I'm an honorably discharged veteran of the United States Marine Corps. And so I serve my country. And so, Memorial Day, my thoughts and prayers are with people, family members who served. Many men and women have served in the United States Armed Forces, and have gotten injured or hurt and things. Fortunately, I can say during my time of service that I didn't receive any injuries or while I was in combat and all that kind of stuff, But I know that many men and women have served in the United States Armed Forces, and some have gotten injured. They didn't get necessarily die, but they got injured. Some really pretty bad, And as for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, for this country, our thoughts and prayers are with their family. They haven't been forgotten, and like we always say, because of their sacrifices, because of the men and women who served in the United States Armed Forces, their sacrifice, we enjoy the freedoms that we have today, the democracy that we have today. Sometimes we can disagree. We agree to disagree. We agree to disagree. We have disagreements about various things. We agree, but we agree to disagree. But out of that disagreement, that disagreement is not an excuse, to be violent or to think that your position is the only position. Your opinion is the only opinion. Everyone has, an opinion. And I intend to throw opinion out there for this reason. Your opinion is just that, your opinion. It don't mean that you know everything. It don't mean you know everything. That's the reason why we have colleges and universities all around the world. People all around the world continue to do investigations and research in medicine, and science, and chemistry, biology, physics. We don't know everything. Computer science, people in engineering, they had to do investigation and research. We had to go back and do things. People who manufacture in manufacturing, they had to go back and do stuff because we don't know everything. And I'm not going to even, doggone well, religion. We don't know everything. We don't know how, myself include, I'll be sitting around talking about it's one God. Some other man will be sitting around talking about, somewhere else be talking about it's more than one God. And then got into a fight. Things got so heated that altercations happen, Sometimes things like that happen. And what I do is all kind of war being fought, So like I said, your opinion, that's the reason why I intend to throw it out there. Your opinion is just that, your opinion. Your opinion don't mean that it's credible or valid. It don't mean that you know everything. You got people with PhDs. They get to argue. You got people in the theology and religious studies department. They all got a PhD in Judaism, in Catholic, in the Catholic Church. And they'll sit there and argue all day. And then you throw that Islam stuff in there. They'll sit there and argue all day. And then the argument will continue the next day and the day after that. Here it is, 2024, and we still arguing. And I ain't even talking about the ones that don't even believe in God. But that's your opinion. Hey, that's your opinion. So like I said, we just have a Memorial Day. This is what Memorial Day about. People who made the ultimate sacrifice. So we can sit here with our opinion. And when I started my video today, that's another thing I want to make sure. I was busy doing research, in front of the desktop. We were talking about these books. And we're going to be talking about these books. And I'm still going to get to my review. I haven't forgot. But see, this is part of my review. See, we talking about Judaism. And see, when we talk about the review, we got to, you got to have this understanding of what the things that we have gone over. Just like the scholars. And we talking about Judaism. We talking about Gnosticism. We talking about Christian beliefs. I don't like saying Christianity. I'm getting to the point where I don't even like saying stuff no more, man. You know what I'm saying? I really am. I'm getting to the point I don't like saying Christian no more. I don't, it's just, I don't want to say Christian, I don't want to say Catholicism. It's not, what I'm saying? It's just getting to the point. It's just that, like I said, this morning, when I got up this morning, and I was moving around the house and stuff, but last night, and as well other days during the week, I've been trying to look up books and stuff because we started talking about these books. And I've been, talking about it, but really been, putting more emphasis on these books. And the more emphasis you put on these books, it be the references in the books. You understand? It's just like when you be on Wikipedia, for example, and you scroll all the way down to the bottom, just like we talking about narcissism on Wikipedia, or the demiurge on Wikipedia. You scroll all the way down to the bottom, you see all these notes, you see all these references, you see the bibliography. When you see that stuff, when you see that information, it's important because it's over in the library. Because any information that you see, and you look that one piece of information up, it's all kind of notes and references and bibliographies on that information that's over in the library. And just like when you talk about a book, and in that book, you understand, that one book, whoever the author was, had to make notes, had to refer to notes and had to make references. You know what I'm saying? Had to go and find other books so they can do their book. So I want to find them books. And that's what I was doing this morning. And that's what I found this morning. I found some books that I ain't never seen before, that I wasn't aware of, but then I became aware of those books just this morning. And when I became aware of those books this morning, I found out that there are other books that was being used by the author of that book to write their book. So now I'm trying to find those books. And that's what I found this morning. Not yesterday or the day before. I just found those books before I made my video this morning, sitting in front of this desktop this morning. And I'm going to show you those books. Now, what you see in front of you is anti-gang, anti-Gnostic, and anti-hazing also. And versus heresies, translated mean against heresies. Saint Irenaeus, the Bishop of Lyons, together with Saint Ignatius, the Bishop of Antioch, wrote a 5-volume book refuting Gnosticism, proving that Gnosticism was a heresy. Also, Saint Athanasius, the Bishop of Alexandria, in his 39th Festal letter, Easter letter, in the year 367 AD, banned all non-Christian writing. Saint Athanasius, the Bishop of Alexandria, together with all the other bishops in the Catholic Church, that went around and collected all that Gnostic theologian writing, and they destroyed it. Now, some of that Gnostic theologian writing has been discovered. For example, the Bruce Codex, the Askew Codex, the Berlin Codex, and then later on the Nag Hammadi Library has been discovered in 1945 by a little farm boy who was outside playing. And the little farm boy gave what he found to his father, who was a farmer. And eventually, the scholars at the colleges and universities around the world, the people in academia, the sororities and the fraternities, the sohos and the frat bitches, they found out about it. And they have been misusing and using the Nag Hammadi Library to be self-destructive and destructive. Trying to destroy wildlife, nature, the environment, trying to destroy the North and South Pole. Now they're going out in space, trying to do the same thing. Also, St. Epiphanius of Salome, the Bishop of Cyprus, wrote a 3-volume book titled Panorama, that's in Greek, Panorama, that's in Latin. Translated means bread basket. The scholars at the the scholars at the college and university all around the world have also said that St. Epiphanius of Salome, Bishop of Cyprus, 3-volume book is also adversary races against heresies. The Almighty, conservative, vice lord, four corner hustle. The Almighty, black Princeton. The Almighty, Mickey Cobblestone, crack. The Almighty, black disciple, Potter. The Almighty, Bluefin, black disciple. The Lord, Stone, disciple. Gangster disciple killer, GDK. Glaze donut killer, GDK. 7-11, G killer, Goofy. Living in this house, and mom and dad, had things done to the house, to preserve the house, like siding and getting the roof done, all that. The doggone birds. I'm pretty sure if anybody can relate, doggone birds get in the side. Well, I want to go outside and just reach up in there and get all the birds up out of there. You know, boy. But you know, like I said, man, you know, I was up this morning doing research, you know, in front of the desktop. I ain't using my laptop, but had the desktop, and let me click that. And like I said, I found some books, and I wrote a lot of them down, cause like I've been writing books down, and you know, cause they're in the library, you know, but I want to make sure I write these books down because in those books, like I said, the author of those books, they had to do research. You know, they had to do investigation. They had to go and find other people's books. And I thought about that too. I was like, well, if you go back, way back, just like we were talking about the scholars in Gnosticism and how they did their research. What did they refer to do their research? Not just information that was present in front of them. You know, take an archaeologist. What did an archaeologist study before they went to start digging to get them that, you know, to get them that motivation to be an archaeologist? And what made you go to that location and then, you know, to make this a digging site? You had to refer to something. It was some kind of information that you referred to that was the motivation, that was the driving force behind you know, wanting to do investigation, want to do research. And so that's the same thing. It can be one book, and from that one book, you see what an author did their research. So then you want to find those books. And so that's what I was doing this morning. And so now we was talking about last week we were talking about PBS had a program, and you know, YouTube, and I did find it. That was on Frontline. You know, it was talking about Gnosticism, of course. And it's two videos, but that was on Frontline PBS. And of course, you can see part 2 down at the bottom. You see part 2 down at the bottom. Yeah, but it is there. Now I haven't watched it, but I do since I found it, I do intend to watch it. And so I mean, part 1 is what, an hour and 49 minutes. It'd be time well spent. And then part 2 is like an hour and 51 minutes. Because part one is like an hour and 49 minutes and 42 seconds. And then part 2 is an hour and 51 minutes and 25 seconds. So I do intend to watch both of those. Let me click right here. Now, I was putting things in the search bar, like last week, like most times, like I put in the search bar, like Jewish arguments against Gnosticism. And that's where we find these books. And see, see. Let me see. All right, let me click over here. Okay. For example, now then I also put in the search bar Jewish opposition to Gnosticism. That's where I found this book, A Jewish Polemic Against Gnosticism. And then it's over there on the JSTOR. And Loophole Wallach. He wrote this book in 1946. And they showing some references down at the bottom, but like I said, this man wrote his book, A Jewish Polemic Against Gnosticism. 1946. And it's over there on the JSTOR. Now you know when Loophole Wallach wrote his book, there were some references, notes, and things of this nature. Now over here on the JSTOR, they don't get they not having a whole. They give it like a little preview. But like I said, I found that book, so I got the title of the book. I can go find it. The book. Most likely is over in the library on Poplar Avenue. But you can also go, like I said, over here on the JSTOR. Then there's also this Jewish journal. I'm quite certain it's going to be over there too. But that's one of the books I found. Then, over there on Amazon.com, I found this book, No Longer Jews, The Search for Gnostic Origins. And like I said, this book was wrote in 2004 by Carl B. Smith. And quite naturally, when this man wrote his book, it's going to be references and notes in his book to refer to. And again, the title of that book, and I mean on Amazon.com is what? If you can buy this book used, it'd be $25. But now that's the you now hardcover, $25. But I mean, that's used. But I mean, you can find the book new. Might be a couple, might be a few dollars more. But I mean, but that's on Amazon.com. Now used $25. And what's the other book? Let me see. Let's see. No, I'm gonna have to find this book too. It was written by Pearson Berger in 1990. Gnosticism, Judaism, and Egyptian Christianity. And it's talking about Freelander revisited, Alexandrian Judaism and Gnostic origins. And see, that was another thing we were talking that I wanted to look into. Talking about this Hellenistic Jews that was over there in Alexandria, Egypt. Because after Egypt had been conquered by Alexander the Great and by the Greeks and everything. But there were many Jews who were living in Egypt and whatever, but they had been Hellenized. All this stuff about Plato, we were talking about Plato. See, that's what they're referring to. Is how these Gnostics talk about this demiurge. And so when you talk about these Hellenized Jews, there were people who were familiar with philosophy because of the Greeks had conquered. And Alexandria was one of those places where the Greco-Romans were pretty, influential. They was in that area in Alexandria. And so, like I say, many of the Jews had become Hellenized or whatever. But when we be talking about Plato and how Plato wrote his book titled the Timaeus or Timaeus, and then the Gnostics took his book and distorted his book with this demiurge because Plato, the demiurge was a good god, but the Gnostics twisted it, distorted it, and made the demiurge an evil, clumsy god. And that but one of Plato's students, as we went over, wrote his book, the Enneads or Enneads, translated, against the Gnostics and against those who affirmed that the Creator and all the creation itself was evil. In Plotinus' book, he was disagreeing with, he was against the Gnostics. Plotinus was against the Gnostics in their appropriation of Plato's book. And so, where I'm at right now, like I said, in the tab, in the search bar, I had one search bar. In one tab, I had Jewish arguments against Gnosticism. And you get all this information. I found some books and things. Then on another tab, I put Jewish opposition to Gnosticism. Then, all these books. For example, like I said again, a Jewish polemic against Gnosticism. Leupold Wallet wrote his book in 1946. And like I said, I clicked over here. Where did I click at? Let me click back over. Wait a minute. Dushara.com. And it's over here with its Jewish origins of Gnosticism. And when I clicked over there, the person who wrote Pearson Berger, 1990. And the title of the book that he wrote is Gnosticism, Judaism, and Egyptian Christianity. And it's about Freelander Revisited, Alexandrian Judaism and Gnostic origin. What it's saying is that, let me just read this little tidbit. In many fields of human endeavor, it sometimes happens that a person sets forth seemingly outlandish theories. The work is diminished lightly or perhaps ponderously refuted, and then lies unnoticed by the next generation. At last, however, someone takes notice of what had been proposed many years before, and the earlier work turns out to be exceedingly useful when looked at with new evidence and by a different generation. For example, Alfred Wegener, in a book entitled The Origin of Continents and Oceans, published in 1915, put forward the thesis that South America once lay alongside Africa, but that in a process of many eons, the two continents drifted far away from each other, having been split apart by forces generated beneath the Earth's crust. He went on to observe that all of the Earth's continents have shifted and broken apart over vast spaces of time, and are still in the process of drifting. Wegener was laughed out of court by the geologists of his day and died in 1930, surrounded by incredulity and derision. Now, as we all know, the theory of continental drift has become almost an orthodoxy. The field of the history of religions also has its beginners and scholars whose interests lie in the complex history of the religions of the Hellenistic Roman world, are well advised to look into the work of bygone eras of scholarship for new light on current areas of interest. Much is currently being written on the question of the origins of Gnosticism and the relationship of Gnosticism to Judaism. It seems to me useful for the purpose of further discussion to exhume from the dust of many decades some interesting and provocative ideas set forth by Maurice Freelander, whose thesis did not meet with the approval of his contemporaries, but which may very well be taken more seriously now. In a book entitled Der Boschitz Judisch Gnosticismus, Freelander put forth the thesis that Gnosticism is a pre-Christian phenomenon which originated in antinomian circles in the Jewish community of Alexandria. This Gnosticism, against which Philo polemizes, came early to Palestine, and the rabbinic polemics against the Manim are directed specifically at such Gnostics. Christian Gnosticism is simply a secondary version of the older Gnosticism, which attached itself to the emergent Christian sect and appropriated for itself the figure of Jesus Christ. Now, that's what we're talking about here. See, Pearson Berger, 1990, in his book titled Gnosticism, Judaism, and Egyptian Christianity. Excuse me. He's talking about this man, Freelander, Maurice Freelander. He wrote a book. And when he wrote his book in his day of time, he was criticized. But now, contemporary and modern scholars are going back to refer to Maurice Freelander's book, talking about Gnosticism in Egypt, in Alexandria, Egypt, and Gnosticism. And so here's Friedlander's arguments. What time is it? Okay, yeah, we go. Now, Friedlander's arguments. Friedlander's thesis is worth considering in some detail in this article. I first want to set forth his main arguments, concentrating especially on what he derives from his reading of Philo. Now remember Philo, so you need to refer to Philo. Then I shall comment briefly on the issues he raised from the vantage point of modern scholarship and on the basis of materials unknown to Friedlander and his generation that we now have at our disposal. It should be mentioned that Friedlander did not write in a vacuum, often had for many years and even decades written on Gnosticism, and specifically on the relationship of Gnosticism to Judaism. Two of the most important of these are H. Gratz and M. Joel. Remember those two names? Let me repeat it. H. Gratz, and that's spelled Graetz, and M. Joel, and spelled Joel. So you remember that. But Friedlander was the first, to my knowledge, to suggest that Gnosticism originated in Judaism. Friedlander begins his discussion by referring to the cultural and religious institutions in the Jewish diaspora prior to the time of Jesus. It was a situation in which the new wine of Hellenistic culture and philosophy was being put into the old wineskins of Jewish religion. The allegorical method of scripture interpretation was one of the manifestations of this trend. The Mosaic law was being interpreted allegorically by Jews who had imbibed of Greek philosophy, and the law was taken to be a revelation of divine philosophy. Indeed, since Moses was more ancient than the Greek philosophers, it was natural to suggest that the latter had learned from the former. Philo is a good example of this trend, but he had forerunners such as Aristobulus, Pseudo-Aristius, and Pseudo-Solomon. The allegorical interpretation of the law must have led to division in diaspora Judaism between conservative Jews who observed the letter of the law and philosophizers who regarded the letter of the law as peripheral. Such a division is not merely a hypothetical reconstruction, but is well documented in historical sources. Eusebius specifically speaks of two parties in diaspora Judaism whose differences are precisely delineated along the lines here suggested. Philo himself provides clear evidence of such divisions. A key text in Friedlander's arguments is on the migration of Abraham, 86 to 93, which Friedlander quotes in full. In this text, wherein Philo polemicizes against allegories who neglect the letter of the law and derive from it only spiritual truth. We have reflected a full-blown schism in the diaspora. In antinomian, party of Jews is referred to here. They differ from the therapeutic, the Palestinian Essenes, and Philo himself, not so much in their use of allegory, but precisely in their antinom tendencies. A number of Jewish sects are known to us from antiquity whose views were suspect in the eyes of law-abiding Jews. Friedlander continues, among these are the Sabellites, known to Origen, probably identical to the pious ones referred to in the Sibylline Oracles, Book 4, Justin Martyr refers to some pre-Christian sects among the Jews, at least one of which, the Hellenes, is surely a reference to a diaspora group. Hegesippus derives all Christian heresies from pre-Christian Jewish heresies. According to him, the Gnostic heresy reared its ugly head in the church soon after the death of the apostles. The implication of Hegesippus' statement is that false gnosis was already extant in apostolic times, but the powerful influence of the apostles kept it from blossoming in the church. The origin of this false gnosis, if we consider the testimony of Hegesippus, is found in pre-Christian Judaism. The view of some latter fathers that heresy is necessarily latter than orthodoxy is obviously tenuous. Friedlander goes on to set forth the daring hypothesis that such Christian heresy as those of the Ophites, the Canaanites, and the Scythians, as well as the Melchizedecians, are the progeny of the radical antinomians against whom Philo had polemicized. According to the oldest patristic accounts, the Ophites, who according to some accounts are closely associated with the Scythians, were antinomian and venerated the serpent as the revealer of gnosis and as an incantation of the divine wisdom. Reflected in these ideas is the Alexandrian Jewish doctrine of the divine dynamists. Philo and other Alexandrian Jews regarded Sophia as a divine dynamist. The Ophites simply took up this doctrine and interpreted it in a heretical fashion. The Canaanites venerated Cain as the divine power, rejected all moral conventions, and rejected the law along with his God. And what, asks Friedlander, is Christian about that? The Alexandrian school provides the most plausible link for the origin of this heresy. Indeed, the Canaanite sect was already well known to Philo. Friedlander quotes in this connection on the posterity and exile of Cain. In this text, Cain is a symbol of heresy. And the specifics of the heresy represented by him are such that one can only conclude that Philo is arguing against a philosophizing sect, characterized not only by constructing myths contrary to the truth, but by gross antinomianism. Philo speaks against these heretics precisely as Irenaeus speaks against the Gnostics. There can be no doubt that the heretics combated by Philo are the forerunners of the Christian Gnostics, latter combated by the church fathers. The Scythians share in the errors of the Ophites and Canaanites, teaching that the world was created by angels and not by the highest God. The dynamists from on high came down into Seth after Abel's death, according to the Scythians, and many held Seth to be the Messiah. Ophites, Canaanites, and Scythians all derived from the Jewish diaspora. Their members were recruited from the Jewish radicals known to us from Philo and from philosophically oriented proselytes who had attached themselves to the synagogues. Indeed, Philastrius numbers the Ophites, Canaanites, and Scythians among the sects that flourished in Judaism before the advent of Jesus. It is obvious that these sects could not have originated from within Christianity, from the very fact that their chief doctrines are derived from the Old Testament rather than from the new. The divine power was seen by them to reside in the Old Testament figures of the serpent, Cain, and other such biblical personages, as were not filled and were not fied to the law. These Old Testament figures were adhered to even after the Gnostics came into contact with Christianity. Their origin, in short, is traceable to the situation in Alexandrian Judaism, wherein allegorical exposition of the law flourished, and wherein antinomianism also developed. Friedlander turned next to the Melchizedekians. I'm going to have to say that slow. They talking about Melchizedek. Melchizedekians. This group held Melchizedek to be a great power, and being higher than the Messiah, a son of God, who occupied a place among the heavenly angels. Such a belief cannot have originated in Christianity. The figure of Melchizedek, of course, is derived from the Old Testament and becomes, for antinomian, Alexandrian Jews, a powerful symbol of law-free religion. When the Melchizedekians came into contact with Christianity, Jesus was incorporated into their system, but his position was below that of Melchizedek. As Jesus is an advocate for humans, so also is Melchizedek an advocate for the angels. The Alexandrian origin of Melchizedekianism is also demonstrated with reference to Philo himself, for whom Melchizedek is not only a heavenly being, but identified with the Logos. Philo nevertheless stresses in his version of the Melchizedek mystery that there is no other God beside God Most High, and he is one. That in this passage, a polemic, Polemic, is directed against antinomian heretics. Is shown also with reference to the Ammonites and Moabites, who are excluded from the divine congregation. The Alexandrian author of the Epistle to the Hebrews obviously knew of the Melchizedek mystery. Friedlander continues and indeed presents a modified Melchizedekianism to his erstwhile co-religionists, trying to prove to them that Jesus is indeed superior to Melchizedek in Hebrews 7:3. The Melchizedek mystery is qualified with the phrase Greek. Friedlander distinguishes the Melchizedekians from the Ophites and Canaanites, suggesting that the former were not so aggressive in their antinomianism as the latter. He even suggests that Melchizedekianism is the one form of pre-Christian Gnosticism that qualifies best as the point of departure for Christian Gnosticism. On the origin of pre-Christian Jewish Gnosticism, Friedlander summarizes his position by stating that it began with the Hellenization of Judaism in the diaspora. Gnosticism served as the medium by which Judaism should become a world religion. It remained orthodox so long as the law was observed, as is the case with Philo, and became heretical when the letter of the law was rejected, as was the case with the radicals combated by Philo. In the second half of the monograph, Freelander discusses further the content of Gnosis and its propagation among the Jews of Palestine. The chief content of the oldest Gnosis consists of cosmological and theosophical speculation, the means by which an amalgamation of the old religion with newer philosophical ideas was achieved was allegory. This characteristic of Gnosis, evident in the oldest known Gnostic sect, the Ophites, is found also among the most ancient Mishnah teachers under the designation Maseh Brisit, the work of creation, and Maseh Merkabah, the work of the chariot. The cosmogonic and theosophical speculations had taken a heretical turn very early in Palestine is demonstrated, according to Freelander, by the following Mishnah, which is referred to as a tradition of the sages by the first century rabbi Yohanan ben Zakkai. The laws of incest may not be expounded to three persons, nor the story of creation before two persons, nor the subject of the chariot before one person alone, unless he be a sage and comprehends of his own knowledge. Moreover, puts his mind to these four matters, it were better for him if he had not come into the world what is above, what is below, what is beyond, what is in the opposite beyond, and whatsoever has no regard for the honor of his creator. It were better for him had he not come into the world. Clearly reflected in this Mishnah and severely condemned is the antinomian Gnostic differentiation between the highest God and an inferior creator. But one finds a polemic against such obscene esoterica. Freelander suggests already in the second half of the second pre-Christian century in 3:21 through 24, a passage actually quoted in the Talmud later in an anti-Gnostic polemic. Heretical Gnosis reached Palestine at least by the early 1st century. Gnostic mystical doctrines were tolerated and fostered by some in Orthodox circles, so long as the honor of the Father in heaven was served and the unity of God maintained. Thus, a distinction was made between true Gnosis and false Gnosis, the latter characterized by arrogance over against God. The Palestinian distinction between true and false Gnosis is matched by and preceded by a similar distinction in the Alexandrian diaspora. Philo distinguishes between the true and the false Gnosis by stating that the true is characterized by following God and is typified by righteous Abel, while the false, typified by Cain, is characterized by ascribing all things to the human mind and by self-love, rejection of the truth, and godliness. Freelander suggests further that the dependence of Palestinian esoteric speculation upon Alexandrian Judaism can be shown with reference to Philo, both with respect to the practice of reserving the higher Gnosis to the initiated and with respect to actual content. Several passages in Philo are cited in this connection. In these Alexandrian speculations, we have the sources of the Palestinian mysteries of the Maseh Brisit and the Maseh Merkabah. These speculations, if not pursued by such pious worthies as Philo, or are Yohanan ben Zakkai could easily lead to heresy. Philo describes this kind of heresy very appropriately when he refers to the self-loving and godless mind which regards itself as equal to God. Friedlander contends that heretical Gnosticism was an important factor in Palestine already in the time of Jesus. The most influential variety of heretical Gnosticism was Ophitism, transplanted in Palestine from the diaspora. The Talmud refers to the Gnostic heretics as Minim, M-I-N-I-M. And the Gnostic heresy itself as Minat, M-I-N-A-T. Terms that cannot be taken as is sometimes done to refer to Christians and Christianity. A concrete illustration of the relationship, that is, identity between the Ophites described by the Christian fathers who interpreted heretically the Old Testament and cursed the God of the Jews, and the Minim opposed by the rabbis, is the Midrash, wherein it is stated that the world was created with a bet, referring to the opening letter of the Torah, instead of an aleph, because bet connotes blessing and aleph cursing, lest the Minim find justification in their blasphemous suggestion that the world was created with the language of cursing. Friedlander goes on to give detailed exposition of Talmudic Agadah, referring to Minim, arguing that these refer specifically to Gnostics. For example, the story of R. Jonathan's disciple who ran away to the Minim in Capernaum is a clear reference to antinomian Ophites who practice free love. Such libertinism as practiced by the Gnostic Minim is decried by R. Jonathan with the exclamation, "Is this the way for Jews to behave?" Free love is attributed by the Christian fathers to the Carpocretian and Canaanite branches of Ophitic Gnosticism, and Philo's polemic against the antinomian allegories reflects the same practice among these Gnostics. Further evidence concerning the Ophite Gnostics in Palestine, according to Friedlander, is afforded by the prescription in the Talmud that the Gileadim and the books of the Minim are not to be saved from the fire, but are to be burnt in their place, along with the Ascarbit, or divine names, occurring in them. Contrary to some Talmudists, Gileadim cannot refer to Christian Gospels, which of course do not contain Ascarbit. The Gileadim or tablets and refer specifically to the Ophite diagram described by Celsus and Origen. The great hatred of the Minim displayed in the Talmudic references by R. Tarfun and R. Ishmael is perfectly understandable when it is seen that the Minim are Ophites and their diagram, containing their heretical use of the divine names and their own heretical speculation on Messiah, Besit, and Messiah, Merkaba, are referred to under the Hebrew term Galion. Such heretics are to be hated with perfect hatred, for they sow wrath between Israel and their Father in heaven. The hatred of the rabbis is matched only by that of the church fathers, who polemicized against the same heretics. After further discussion of the Gnostics referred to in rabbinic literature, with special attention paid to the arch heretic Elisha ben Abuya and various Gnostic elements in Talmudic doctrines, Friedlander concludes that Judas Alexandrinus constitutes the root from which Palestinian Gnosticism sprang. So far as ethics is concerned, Friedlander continues the Alexandrian Jewish tendency toward the mortification of the flesh in the interest of higher gnosis could lead either to strict asceticism or to libertinism. This point is given specificity with reference to the Gnostic concept of the destruction of the womb. That this concept is directly dependent upon Jewish Alexandrianism is evident from Philo, who in a very striking passage discusses how the body to which we are bound should be dealt with in an involved allegory upon Deuteronomy 23:12. Philo makes the point that the soul, for the sake of knowledge, should disregard the flesh and allow reason to act as a shovel and cover up all unseemly passions. The lover of pleasure moves upon the belly, but the perfect man flushes out the entire belly. Whereas Philo derives from the Alexandrian Jewish depreciation of the body and is past as a strong ascetic tendency. The Canaanites drew the opposite conclusion and taught that the bodily nature could be destroyed only by partaking of the passion of the flesh. Philo polemicizes against such a party in the remarks he makes following the passage just referred to in an allegory on Genesis 3:14. Similar Gnostics were found in Palestine. Those whom Philo encountered in his time were the fathers and grandfathers of the Canaanites decried by Iranians. Friedlander refers finally to the arrogant predestinarianism of the Gnostics and derives this too from Jewish Alexandrianism. The Gnostics referred to themselves as spiritual by nature, an idea derived from the Jewish Alexandrian view exemplified by Philo when he said that God produces good natures among men by grace without giving reasons and produces also faulty natures among others. So like I said, that's Pearson Berger, 1990. And the title of the book, Gnosticism, Judaism, and Egyptian Christianity. So let me click back over. Now, that was on Dushara. And then, let me see. Right. And there was another article on Judaism and Gnosticism. And it was written it was published in 1955. And that's the title, Judaism and Gnosticism. And it was written by Ralph Marcus. And Like I said, that's another book. And again, the title of that book is or article is Judaism and Gnosticism. And it was in 1955. Yeah, 1955, written in 1955. And it was written by Ralph Marcus. Ralph Marcus. There's another book. And let me see, what's this one? Now I'm over here on the JSTOR now. There's another book. Jewish Gnosticism. And it was written by Joseph Dan. And it was published in 1995. Like I said, this is other place. Now I'm over here on the JSTOR, Jewish Studies Quarterly. That's what I was talking about. Jewish Studies Quarterly. It'd be a lot of information in the Jewish Studies Quarterly. And it's been around since it was founded in 1993. But there was another one older than that. It was another one that was they do it that published Jewish stuff. It was older. It was back in 1890 something. But like I said, that's on the JSTOR. And like I said, the title of the book is Jewish Gnosticism, and it was written by Joseph Dan. And it was in 1995, and you can find it on the Jewish Studies Quarterly. And then let me see, scroll. All right, do. All right. Okay, I had found. I was looking at this PDF, and and you can refer to that. I mean, there's a lot of information being done. Uh, so, like I said, and what I'm looking at, I had to scroll up and down to see what is that because I hadn't really just paid attention to it. But it's titled "The Gnostics and History" by Edwin Yamachi, PhD, and you can refer to that. It's let's see how many it is. About 11 pages of PDF to read. But I mean, it's talking about the same subject. The Gnostics and history is still talking about the same subject about Judaism and Gnosticism. And again, the title is "The Gnostics and History," and it was written by Edwin Yamachi, PhD. And so let me check this out. I think I just read it. Oh no. All right, let me see here. Okay, now this is a book or maybe a paper, but it might be chapter 11. Let me see. Okay. Right, okay. Now, let me click this right quick. Okay, I see it. Okay. Okay, I see it. There's I get sick of these cookies. Okay, I see. Jewish writing on the Second Temple period. Okay, and then it breaks down to these contemporary period. But there's some that you can't over on Brill, 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 and there's a lot of it that's written. And remember, I just mentioned Pearson E. Burger, and part of this, like, because there are other writers included, but he is included in the writing, and it starts right here. Jewish sources in Gnostic literature. But that's only one part of it. And that's the part that he does in this whole series, discussion. There are other authors who wrote information. And then when you get to the information that he writes, it's titled Jewish Sources in Gnostic Literature. Pages 443 through 481. And then there's most of the Qumran sectarian literature, and then there are other things. But like I said, that's Jewish Sources in Gnostic Literature. And it's by Berger A. Pearson, pages 443 through 481. Like I said, that's the part that he did. But there's a lot of other information that other authors did. And on the whole thing, it's titled The Literature of the Jewish People in the Period of the Second Temple and the Talmud. Jewish Writings of the Second Temple Period. So you can go there, and if you want to pay $93 on Brill, you can get it. And like I said, the title of the whole thing is The Literature of the Jewish People in the Period of the Second Temple and the Talmud. And there's volume 2, Jewish Writings of the Second Temple Period. And like I said, it was a whole lot of other authors, but the section that Berger A. Pearson A. Berger, I guess it's his first name, Berger, Birge, I think that's his first name, Berger A. Pearson, in pages 443 through 481. And the part that he did was Jewish Sources in Gnostic Literature. And you can pay $40. But like I said, I'm over here on Brill, Brill. See all this information, then you have all these references. I think I got this one wrote down. Yeah, I got that one wrote down. There's another book, From Jewish Magic to Gnosticism. And it was written by, what's his name? Attilio Mastrosinki. From Jewish Magic. Man, I'm so sick of these cookies, man. Every time I click on something, all this cookie stuff. Attilio Mastrosinki. This website uses cookies. But that's another book. Like I said, that's another book. And the author of that book, Attilio Mastrosink. And Miss Elaine Pagel, she wrote a book or commentary. Let me see here. The Gnostic Gospel by Elaine Pagels. And that was in 1980. And so you can read that book. And like I say, every time you read a book, turn to the back of the book, it's gonna be references how the author compiled all this information to write their book. That was Elaine Pagels. And again, the title of the book that Miss Pagels wrote, The Gnostic Gospel. And let me see. Right. Okay, I just need that. Right. Let me see. What was it? I think I did that one. Sometimes it don't always be a book. Sometimes you just have authors they'll write up like an article. Okay, let me click over here to oh, okay, yeah. I got that wrote down. Yeah, I got that wrote down. Okay, this a book in 1961. And matter of fact, it's one of the authors that was one of the scholars. Excuse me, one of the scholars of Gnosticism. Gershom. Gershom G. Scholem. Excuse my pronunciation, Mr. Scholem. But at the time, Professor Scholem. But he wrote a book, Jewish Gnosticism, Merkaba Mysticism, and Talmudic Tradition. And again, it was by, at the time, Professor Gershom G. Scholem. Yeah, I wrote that down. Yeah, I wrote that down. Now over here on Brill. Okay, that's what it was. Ithamar Grunwald wrote a book, and this is part of Studies in Gnosticism and Hellenistic religions presented to Gilles Quispel on the occasion of his 65th birthday. And the title of this work is "The Problem of the Anti-Gnostic Polemic in Rabbinic Literature." The problem of the anti-Gnostic polemic in Rabbinic literature. And again, the author is Ithamar Grunwald. Now, he wrote another book. I wrote that one down. That's one of the books he wrote. And another book that Ithamar Grunwald wrote was Aspects of the Jewish Gnostic Controversy. We're going to get to that. But like I said, this is one of the works that Mr. Grunwald did. And this is Studies in Gnosticism and Hellenistic Religions presented to one the man was scholar Gilles Quispel, and that was on the occasion of his 65th birthday. And Mr. Grunwald presented the problem of the anti-Gnostic polemic in Rabbinic literature. And it's just read a bit. The celebration of Professor G. Quispel's 65th birthday is a suitable occasion for reviewing the often discussed subject of how much the rabbis of Talmudic times actually knew about the Gnostic heresies of their time and how, if at all, they reacted to those heresies. One need not repeat here the fact that the scholarly world owes a great debt to Professor Quispel for his share in purchasing, publishing, and interpreting the Gnostic texts discovered at Nag Hammadi. Professor Quispel was one of the first scholars that recognized, to use a happy phrase of Elaine Pagel, that most of the writings discovered at Nag Hammadi use Christian terminology unmistakably related to a Jewish heritage. Yet, however closely related the Gnostic terminology and ideas were to the Jewish heritage, there is nothing new in the statement that they maintained a hostile attitude towards that heritage. Thus, it is only natural to assume that the rabbis could not afford hiding in trenches without taking up the challenge and responding in the strongest terms. One's expectations from the rabbis are even greater when one realized that the Gnostic writers not only used Jewish material in their writings, but virtually inverted its meaning and significance. The Jewish material used by the Gnostic writers derived from Scripture, the Targums and the Midrash at large, and one is definitely justified in assuming that the rabbis could not indifferently watch their own religion misused and turned against itself. And so, like I said again, the author of this work is Ithamar Grunwald. And this is Studies in Gnosticism and Hellenistic Religions, presented to Gilles Quispel on the occasion of his 65th birthday. And the title of this work, The Problem of the Anti-Gnostic Polemic in Rabbinic Literature. And I found that on Brill. Now you can pay $40 on Brill, And I just seen something else. Let me scroll. Oh, okay. It's the same thing. Oh, I just seen another book. At WLU, which is Wilfrid Laurier University Press. A study in anti-Gnostic polemics, Irenaeus, Hippolytus, and Epiphanius. And it was written by Gerard Vallée. And so, like I said, so that's the reason why I said this morning that I was doing the same thing. I was here in front of this desktop this morning before I started my video, and I had found some books. So what time is it? Yeah. Okay. So let me and let me mention that other book I talked about last week. No Longer Jews: The Search for Gnostic Origins, and again that was Carl B. Smith, and that was written it was published in 2004, and it's on Amazon.com. I think I said something. I might say it. You can buy it used, new, yeah, Amazon.com. Jewish elements in Gnosticism and magic. And now the Cambridge University Press, 2008. You can read that. Jewish elements in Gnosticism and magic. It was published online by the Cambridge University Press. Just the very first. It should be obvious even from a cursory reading of Gnostic literature that there are Jewish elements in Gnosticism. These elements are of many different kinds and may be classified in many different ways, but for our present purpose, it would be sufficient to distinguish two broad categories: biblical and non-biblical. And it says here that to the first category belong the quotations from or allusions to the Old Testament in the Gnostic texts. For convenience, we may include here also much Gnostic exegesis of the Old Testament. Into the second category may put all those Gnostic ideas, motives, literary genres, technical terms, and formulae which have been paralleled more or less convincingly in post-biblical Jewish literature. Now, I'm going to stop right there. But again, that's something that you can read over on Cambridge University Press. Jewish elements in Gnosticism and magic. And it was by Philip Alexander. In 2008. Okay, now this is the other book that Ithamar Grunwald wrote, Aspects of the Jewish Gnostic Controversy. By Ithamar Grunwald. I want to give you a very short piece of that. Like I said, there's another book article that you can read, and it was written again by Ithamar Grunwald. And again, it was Aspects of the Jewish Gnostic Controversy. And it was Congress of Jewish Studies in Jerusalem, August 1977. Now, I just found this article. Scholarship overview on Gnosticism and early Jewish Christian writings, and it was written by Jean Philippe d'Assis, University Federal do Rio de Janeiro, and that was in 2000. It was published in 2018. But it got a lot of references. A lot of references that you can refer to. Now, let me click over here. All this stuff I found this morning. Now, I found what I found this morning. Then you can also go to Goodreads. And Google Books. Oh yeah, there go one of the books I found this morning. Jewish and Gnostic Man. I found that book this morning. That's the reason why this morning I was up in front of this desktop. I found this book this morning. Jewish and Gnostic Man. And the people, the two men who wrote the book, the two men that wrote these books, Gilles Quispel and Gershom Scholem. And this book, I found that book this morning. Jewish and Gnostic Man. And like I said, the two writers who wrote this book, Gilles Quispel and Gershon Scholem. Okay. But this is how I found some of these books this morning. So I'm trying to put in the search bar the same thing that I had this morning. So these books, so they let's see. Okay, yeah. That's another one I found this morning. This is what I found this morning. Two powers in heaven. Early rabbinic reports about Christianity and Gnosticism. And it's a library of early Christology in 2012. And it's part of a library of early Christology. 13 books altogether. So, and it was written by, now this book was written by Alan F. Siegel. Now, when I seen it the first time, I looked at it, and then I kind of scrolled down a little bit, and I seen this other book. Yeah, that's what it was. I had seen this other way, like they're on Amazon.com. And then it said they're frequently bought together. So when you buy, it was like people who buy this book, Two Powers in Heaven, early rabbinic reports about Christianity and Gnosticism, and then it's part of a library of early Christology, which is 13 books. And one of the books was written by Alan F. Siegel. Like I said, I found this morning. And then I scrolled down to the bottom, not to the bottom, but I seen where it said frequently bought together. And then I seen another book, and it said Two Gods in Heaven, Jewish concepts of God in antiquity. So I said, let me click over there and see what that is. So I clicked over there and seen what that was. And that book was written by Peter Schaefer. He the author, and Allison Brown is the translator. And that was in 2020. And that's when I seen the other book. That one made me really click over. Is when I seen the other book down at the similar item that may deliver to you quickly. Is The Glory of the Invisible God, The Two Powers in Heaven Traditions, and Christology. Then I clicked on that one. And that was part of 6 books, Jewish and Christian texts. So then I said, let me click back over to this other one, because I want to see what them 13 books were. So that's what I did this morning. So I was like, well, let me see what this book here, what this 13, these 13 books. Then I clicked over to the where it said this part of the library of early Christology, 13 books. And so I clicked over there. I wanted to see what them books was at. It was 13 books, part of a collection of books, a library of early Christology. I'm like, so let me see what that is. So I seen, I seen it. And that's what it is. It's 13 of them. And the first one is Israel's God and Rebekah's Children, Christology and Community in Early Judaism and Christianity. Then the second book is Two Powers in Heaven, Early Rabbinic Reports about Christianity and Gnosticism. Then there's another one, Kyrios Christus, A History of the Belief in Christ from the Beginnings of Christianity to Irenaeus. Then the fourth book was Between Jesus and Paul, Studies in the Earliest History of Christianity. Then another book, Old Testament Yahweh Text in Paul's Christology. Then another book, Angel Veneration and Christology, studying early Judaism and in the Christology of the Apocalypse of John. Then another book, The Name of God and the Angel of the Lord, Samaritan and Jewish Concepts of Intermediation and the Origin of Gnosticism. Then another book, The Jewish Roots of Christological Monotheism, paper from the St. Andrew's Conference on the Historical Origins of the Worship of Jesus. Then there's another book, Angelomorphic Christology, antecedents and early evidence. Then there's another book, The Other Judaisms of Late Antiquity. Then there's another book, Ancient Jewish Monotheism and Early Christian Jesus Devotion, The Context and Character of Christological Faith. Then there's another book, Hellenistic Mystery Religions, Their Basic Ideas and Significance. Then there's another book, The Christology of the New Testament. So it's all 13 books. The Library of Early Christology. I'm like, Now let me go back over to this other one. When it's talking about the two gods in heaven, Jewish concepts of God in antiquity. And the author of this book is, like I said, Peter Schaefer is the author and Alison Brown is the translator. And that's how I found the other book. Glory of the Invisible God, the Two Powers in Heaven tradition, and early Christology. I'm going to click over that. That's how I found that book. And it said this part of Jewish and Christian text. It's 6 books, so then I clicked over to that. That's how I found all them books. Jewish and Christian texts. It's 6 books. And the first book is A History of the Hasmonean State, Josephus and Beyond, Jewish and Christian texts. The next book is St. Thomas the Apostle, New Testament, Apocryphal, and Historical Tradition, Jewish and Christian texts. The next book, Jesus Research, the Gospel of John in Historical Inquiry, Jewish and Christian texts. Then another book, Glory of the Invisible God, the Two Powers in Heaven tradition, and early Christology, Jewish and Christian texts. Another book, Cyprus Within the Biblical World, Are Borders Barriers, Jewish and Christian texts. And then the last book, and then the last book, Ecology of Scriptures, and experiences of dwelling behind early Jewish and Christian texts. And so, like I said, that's how I found them books. Then there be some more books. And so, like I said, that's how I found them books this morning. But that's what I was doing this morning before I made my video. I was online. I was sitting here in front of the desktop, and like I said, that's how I found these books this morning. And I guarantee I'm gonna find some more books. But see, that's the point. See, it's all this information that was and is available. And all this research, all these people, all these scholars that's talking about how Judaism and Gnosticism and Christianity is all not the same, but there was a time period when this stuff was happening pretty much around that Mediterranean area. That don't mean it's the same, because as you can see, there was a lot of arguments and differences in opinion. But it's just that at that period of time that this stuff was taking place. And so you had these things that were taking place because Judaism was there, had been there, and then out of this Jewish, that's what's being done. Judaism, by the church fathers, had already been identified. Now we know common sense tell you that what we consider schools and colleges, there weren't no schools and colleges around that time. Now, you can go see when Oxford University and so on and so forth, Cambridge University and so on, the first college or whatever, and then the second college and the third college and all that. That's the point I'm making, is that when it comes to this scholarly investigation and research, you got Oxford University, then Cambridge University, and so on and so forth. The first, second, then the third, then the fourth, then the fifth, then the sixth, and so on and so forth. College and the university. And so it took time for all this to to what you see today, all these colleges and universities, all these nations around the world. And you have all these colleges and universities, then you got all these departments in all these colleges and universities. It took all that time. Blood, sweat, and tears to what you see today. And so people are going back, just like I read that article by Burger A. Pearson about Freelander and how Freelander did his research and was criticized by people of his time. Now look what's happening. The contemporary and modern scholars are going back to Freelander and saying, hey man, whoever the people were that were laughing at him, they should have been laughing at themselves. Because now here we are sitting around talking about and giving credit to Freelander about talking about how the Jews were the basis of the Gnostics. Sometimes. And so, that's a serious thing. And so, like I said, that before I started my video, this what I was doing. I was in front of the desktop. I was looking for books, and I'm still gonna be looking for books. Yeah, I done wrote books down, and so, whoever had a nerve to go around trying to talk about you gonna use Gnosticism. Hey, the only thing you're doing putting yourself in a position where you're gonna get either hurt or killed. And it's, like I said, man, it's just like we talk about all these scholars and how they publish works, and we talking about books. Now let me click. No, I'm over here on Gnosticism, and I wanted to do this for a reason, because we talking about these books and how the scholars, people who go to school and they study, they spend 8 or more hours, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and sometimes even on weekends, studying in their field of study, in particular like theology and religious studies. And we talking about this Judaism, we talking about Gnosticism, we talking about Christianity, as well as other faiths, and the scholars, the PhDs. It's just like this lady that was mentioned in this Gnostic article. But the point I want to make is that she had some books to write that she wrote. And this lady, Miss Karen Lee King, and I looked at the books that this lady wrote. Now this lady, of course, is a historian of religion and working in the field of early Christianity, and she currently the Hollis Professor of Divinity at Harvard University. And this is the oldest endowed chair in the United States of America since 1721. And she is the first woman to be appointed to the position. And then, all the work that she done to, in her career, to get where she's at. Now let me scroll down to the books that this lady has wrote. Now these are published works. This lady has written books. That's what it means, published works. One of the books she wrote, The Secret Revelation of John, that was in 2006. The Gospel of Mary of Magdala in 2003. What is Gnosticism? Wrote that book in 2003. And that book was published through the Harvard University Press. And a lot of her other books also published. And let me go back up here to the Gospel of Mary of Magdala, Jesus and the First Woman Apostle. That was published through Santa Rosa, California, Pole Bridge Press. That was in 2003. And again, that the other book, the first book she wrote, The Secret Revelation of John, that was through Cambridge, Massachusetts, Harvard University Press in 2006. And like I say, what is Gnosticism? Cambridge, Massachusetts, Harvard University Press, 2003. That's the book that this lady has written. Then another book that this lady has written, Revelation of the Unknowable God. Santa Rosa, California, Pole Bridge Press, 1996. And then this lady also co-wrote a book with Lane Pagels. And the title of that book is Reading Judas, the Gospel of Judas in the Shape of Christianity, with Professor Lane Pagels, who is now, a PhD. And she also is the editor of Images of the Feminine in Gnosticism, 1988, and Women and Goddess Tradition in Antiquity and Today, 2000, and co-editor of For the Children, Perfect Instruction Studies in honor of Hans Martin Schenck on the occasion of the Berliner I don't know German. But like I said, this is published works. And she's not the only one, but that was one. And let me click over to another scholar. I want you to see the works that these scholars publish. I clicked over to Elaine Pagels. And she's currently, Ms. Pagels is an American historian of religion. She is the Harrington Spear Payne Professor of Religion at Princeton University. And Pagel has conducted extensive research into early Christianity and Gnosticism. Her best-selling book, The Gnostic Gospel, 1979, examines the divisions in the early Christian church and the way that women have been viewed throughout Jewish history and Christian history. Modern Library named it as one of the 100 best books of the 20th century. Let me scroll down. Now, all this academic work, of course. Now, all these books Miss Pagel has written. Now, Miss Pagel has written 1973, The Johannine Gospel in Gnostic Exegesis, Heraclian's Commentary on John, Society of Biblical Literature, monograph series. In 1975, The Gnostic Paul, Gnostic Exegesis of the Pauline Letters, the Philadelphia Trinity Press International. 1979, The Gnostic Gospel, New York Vintage Books. 1989, Adam, Eve, and the Serpent, Sex and Politics in Early Christianity, New York Vintage Books. 1995, The Origin of Satan, How Christians Demonized Jews, Pagans, and Heretics, New York Vintage Books. 2000, Beyond Belief, The Secret Gospel of Thomas, New York Vintage Books. And here it is, the book that she co-wrote with Miss Karen L. King. In 2007, Reading Judas, The Gospel of Judas and the Shaping of Christianity, New York Viking Press. In 2012, Revelation, Vision, Prophecy, and Politics in the Book of Revelation, New York Viking Press. And 2018, Why Religion, A Personal Story, New York, of course. And so, like I said, there's another scholar. Look at the books they wrote. How many times you went and checked that book out? Any of them books, including myself. How many times? Not once. But then you go walking around in the community, running around, trying to talk about the Nagamon Library. Now, Mr. James M. Robinson, he passed away in 2016. He passed away in 2016. And this man, before he passed away, did a lot of work. James M. Robinson. He was an American scholar who retired as Professor Emeritus of Religion at Claremont Graduate University, Claremont, California, specializing in New Testament studies and Nagamite studies. He was a member of the Jesus Seminar and arguably the most prominent and Nagamite library scholar of the 20th century. He was also a major contributor to the International Project, acting as an editor for most of their publications. Particularly, he laid the groundwork for John S. Kloppenborg's foundational work into the compositional history of Q by arguing its journey as an ancient wisdom collection. He also was the permanent secretary of UNESCO's International Committee for the Nagamite Codices. He is known for his work on the Medinet Mahdi Library, a collection of Coptic Manichaean manuscripts. Let me scroll down. Now look at all these works. How many books? All right. 1957, The Problem of History and Moral, Studies in Biblical Theology, Volume 121. London SCM Press. 1959, A New Quest of the Historical Jesus, Studies in Biblical Theology, Volume 1, 25, London SCM Press. Helmut Koester, 1971, Trajectories Through Early Christianity, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Fortress. And then Stephen J. Patterson, 1998, The Fifth Gospel, The Gospel of Thomas Comes of Age, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Trinity Press International. In 2005, The Gospel of Jesus in Search of the Original Good News, San Francisco, California. In 2005, Christopher Hale and Joseph Verheiden, The Sands Gospel Q, Collected Essays, Bibliotheca Ephemerinium Telegraphium. Now, 2006, The Secrets of Judas, the story of the misunderstood disciple and his lost gospel. In 2007, Jesus according to the earliest witness. And then 2008, Language, Hermeneutic, and History. Theology after Bach and Bultmann. 2010, The Story of the Bodmer Papyri, from the first monastery library in Upper Egypt to Geneva and Dublin. 2013, The Manichaean Codices of Medinet Mahdi. And then 2014, The Nag Hammadi Story, from the discovery to the publication, Nag Hammadi and Manichaean Studies. And then things that have been edited by him. 1971, The Future of Our Religious Past, Essays in Honor of Rudolph Butler. Edited 1977, The Nag Hammadi Library in English. In 2000, The Critical Edition of Q. And then in 2002, The Sands Gospel Q. Then you got chapters and bibliography and obituary and so on and so forth. And so, like I said, that was James M. Robinson, scholar. He already published books. And like I said, the man passed away. Has passed away. Then let me click over into the Ethel S. Drawer. Now, Miss Ethel S. Drawer, she has passed away. But like I said, she was a British cultural anthropologist, Orientalist, and novelist who studied the Middle East and its cultures. She was and still considered one of the primary specialists on the Mandaeans and was the dedicated collector of Mandaean manuscripts. Now, this lady, she Now, let me say this. This lady, as you know, she was a novelist, and she had written books as Ethel S. Stevens, and then she also did works as Ethel S. Dreyer. Now, what I'm going to do, the only thing I want to do is show that you have these scholars, they be publishing works, and they be published. And these books be in the library, just like here in Memphis, Tennessee, over on Poplar Avenue. I guarantee if I go over there, I bet I'll find a book. But works as Ethel S. Dreyer. The Mandaeans of Iraq and Iran. There are cults, customs, magic, legends, and folklore. 1937. Peacock Angel. Being some account of votaries of a secret cult in their sanctuaries. 1941. Water into Wine, a study of ritual idiom in the Middle East. 1956. The Secret Atom, a study of Nazarene Gnosis. 1960. A Mandaic Dictionary with Rudolph Makuk. 1963. Dreyer's Folk Tales of Iraq, edited by Jerome Jacobson Buckley. 2007. And then, of course, you got translations by Miss Dreyer as well. But I mean, these works are published. I mean, books. Now, Gershon Scholem has since passed away in 1982. Was a German-born Israeli philosopher and historian, widely regarded as the founder of modern academic study of the Kabbalah. Scholem was appointed the first professor of Jewish mysticism at Hebrew University of Jerusalem. All right. Let me scroll down to the works. Now, selected works in English. Major trends in Jewish mysticism. 1941. Jewish Gnosticism, Merkaba mysticism, and the Talmudic tradition. 1960. Arendt and Scholem, Eichmann in Jerusalem, exchange of letters between Gershon Scholem and Hannah Arendt in account. 1964. On the Kabbalah and its symbolism. 1965. The Messianic idea in Judaism and other essays on Jewish spirituality. Translate 1971. Sabbate Siva, the Mystical Messiah, 1973. Kabbalah Meridian, 1974. On Jews and Judaism in Crisis, 1976. From Berlin to Jerusalem. Memories of My Youth, 1977. Translated here on 1980. Walter Benjamin, The Story of a Friendship, 1981. Origins of the Kabbalah. Zohar, The Book of Splendor, Basic Reason from the Kabbalah, 1995. On the Mystical Shape of the Godhead, Basic Concepts in the Kabbalah, 1997. The Fullness of Time, Poems translated Richard Sabo, 2003. on history and philosophy of history in Naharim Journal for German Jewish Literature and Cultural History. On Franz Rosenweg and his familiarity with Kabbalah literature in Naharim Journal for German Jewish Literature and Cultural History. Now the other one was 2011, this is 2012. And so these are selected works that Mr. Cholin worked on. I think I got that wrote down. Yep, I got that wrote down. Jewish Gnosticism, Macabre Mysticism, and Talmudic Tradition. Gershon G. Cholin. Yeah, I got that wrote down. I got that book wrote down. Now, the other Gilles Crispell. Let me make sure. Gilles Crispell was a Dutch theologian and historian of Christianity and Gnosticism. He was professor of early Christian history at Utrecht University. Now, there are a lot of works, that Mr. Crispell starting in 1943. Now, some of this stuff is in German. I can't pronounce the first book, Die Brunnen van Tertullianus, and that was in 1943. The Original Doctrine of Valentine, 1947, a Jewish source of Minucius Felix, 1949. Gnosis, as weak religion, 1951. And then another book in 1952, because I can't pronounce some of these. Another book in 1952. 1954. The Jung Codex, a newly recovered Gnostic papyrus, 3 studies. 1955, 1956, then in 1959, 1991, 2005, then 1958, 1967, 1967, then Gnosis and the New Sayings of Jesus, 1971. In 1971, another book. Then another book in 1971. Then The Birth of the Child, some Gnostic and Jewish aspects, 1973. From Mythos to Logos, 1973. Gnosis and Psychology, 1973. Gnostic Studies, 2 volumes. 1974. Tatian and the Gospel of Thomas, Studies in the History of the Western Diatessaron, 1975. Dan von Unik als Gellert, 1978. The Secret Book of Revelation, the Last Book of the Bible, 1979. Jewish and Gnostic Man, 1986. And then 1992. Then another Corpus Hermeticum, 1993. Then another book in 1996, 2001, 2003, 2004, and then the last book was in 2005. And then he had some commemorative publications. Gilles Crispell in 2008, Gnostica, Judaica, Catholica, collected essays of Gilles Crispell and Rand R. Van Denbroek and M.J. Vermasering. Studies in Gnosticism and Hellenistic religion presented to Quispel on the occasion of his on the occasion of his 65th birthday. That was in 1981. Yeah. So all that's been published by all that work is available at the library. And another scholar, Stephen Bain, is an essayist and author. In 1997 was a national director of Jewish Communal Affairs at the American Jewish Committee and holds the rank of adjunct professor at the Wheeler School of Social Work, Yeshiva University. Bain is a graduate of the Maimonides School and the College of Yeshiva University, 1971, and does have a doctorate in Jewish history from Columbia University. And then has lectured throughout the United States, has taught at Yeshiva University, Jewish Theological Seminary, Hebrew Union College, and Queens College. He is a visiting associate professor of history at the Jewish Theological Seminary. And like I said, he does hold a doctorate in Jewish history from Columbia University. And all these works, look at all these works. American Jewry and Judaism in the 20th Century, by Stephen Bain and Gary Rubin, 1980. Poormonger's Jewish Tradition and Social Policy, 1986. Spotlight on the Family, Public Policy and Private Responsibility, 1988. Facing the Future, Essays on Contemporary Jewish Life in Memory of Yehuda Rosenman, 1989. Rebuilding the Nest and New Commitment to the American Family, David Blankenhorn, Stephen Bain, and Jean Beth Estein, 1990. The Jewish Family and Jewish Continuity, Stephen Bain and Gladys Rosen, 1994. Understanding Jewish History, Text and Commentary, Stephen Bain, 1997. Re-examining Intermarriage Trends, Texts and Strategies, Report on a New Study, Bruce A. Phillips, preface by Stephen Bain and David M. Gordis, 1997. Jewish Arguments and Counter-Arguments, Essays and Addresses by Stephen Bain, 2002. So all that work is available at the library. Let me see. Okay. But like I said, all this information about these scholars, and you can refer back to Gnosticism on Wikipedia. And when you see these scholars' names being put there, look at all the works that they published. Look at all the works they published. All them books. And I got continue to find all these books that I found some of these books today. Like I said before I started my video, I was doing what I'm doing now in front of the desktop. And like I showed you them books I found, 13 books talking about Judaism and Gnosticism and Christianity. But I'm gonna get ready to end today's video. A couple more minutes, and it'll be 3 hours. But it was time well spent. And so all that stuff about trying to make it sound like you can go around, as you can see, none of the scholars have given. Do you see any of these scholars writing a book and they giving you a thumbs up? They giving you their seal, like they approve of what you're doing, like say, hey man, they like giving you the, approve, and they encouraging you to be a Gnostic. Ain't nobody telling you that. That's the reason why you got all these contemporary and modern scholars referring back, trying to do archaeological dig. They're trying to find information so they can prove that there's not none that that's not accurate. That's not accurate. It's not genuine. It's not authentic. It's not credible. It's not valid. That's what Gnosticism is. It's a lie. It's not truth. It's not real. And so, like I said, I'm going to get ready to end today's video. And, want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, for all the blessings and the guidance provide myself as well as all of us with. And continue to refer to your Holy Bible and because ain't nobody gave you no thumbs up or nothing. So read your Bible. Believe, have faith. And find you some books. Find you some books. Find you some books. Over in the library. Just like here in the city of Memphis, in the state of County, in the state of Tennessee, in Shelby County. Hey, the main library is on Poplar Avenue. And I went online, found a lot of books. And I guarantee you them same books that you got to pay for, I guarantee I can find the same book for free over in the public library. I guarantee I can find it. But, I ain't got no problem, buying no book, just like buying anything else, Something that'll be useful, that I can use, I consider that being useful. Because get straight to the point. There's some bitches walking around who thought they got away. Time. They thought they got away. Like the gangster disciples. The black gangster new breed. They thought they got away. They're everybody killers. They thought they got away. And some of the rest of them trying to walk around in Chicago and in the state of Illinois and in the surrounding state. You thought you got away. And then out there in Los Angeles, California, that Crip gang. You thought you got away. And then the Pyru Bloods and the rest of them. Not the Black Princeton Bloods, but the rest of them. T. Rogers came from Chicago. No. See, it wasn't no reason for that. See, that's the reason why when you see these scholars writing these books, see, there wasn't no reason for that. See, they be doing investigation, be doing research on us. That Nehemiah library, it wasn't no reason for you to be going around. No reason at all for the sorority and fraternity. And when I say sorority and fraternity, that means everybody. It includes everybody. And now be more specific, the so-called Divine Nine. It wasn't no reason for anybody in no sorority, no fraternity. In the Divine, it wasn't no reason. None whatsoever for you to try to walk around and talk about no Gnosticism because the Nehemiah library. No. You don't know what you're talking about. Do anybody see anybody that's a scholar in Gnosticism? Where your work's at? Where your work's at? See, Mr. Gershon Solin, Mr. Gillis Crispell, where your work's at? Miss Elaine Pagels, she studied this stuff. And Miss King, she studied this stuff. I seen her works on that, but where yours at? Where your works at? See, that's what's gonna have to be done. And what's gonna happen, you're gonna get your ass hurt or killed on these streets. That's what's gonna happen. You're gonna get your ass hurt or killed on these streets. That's what's gonna happen. So you can say whatever you want. Like I said, on these streets, you're going to either get your ass hurt or you're going to get your ass killed on these streets. Straight to the point. Straight to the point. And see these books I wrote down? That's what I did that for. That's the reason why I did that for. Because I know you ain't had no business doing that. You ain't had no reason to do that. And like I said, hey, in the city of Chicago, conservative Lord walking around, they ain't got to worry about you, man. That's the reason why I wrote these books down. They ain't got to worry about you. Especially starting with this gangster cycle. Ain't no reason for you to be worried about them. Because their ass going to die. They going to get killed on these streets. You going to get killed. There ain't no such thing getting hurt. You going to get killed on these streets. Going to kill you. Straight to the point. Whatever you thought you got away with, you ain't get away. You ain't get away. And everybody that I said, that includes you. You ain't get away. You ain't get away. Time. That's all here. Time. Gonna get you. Hey, until next time, you take care of yourself. You wish each one of you the very best. My name is Eric D. Johnson. Also known BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis. It's in the county Shevins in the state of Tennessee. I thank all you, my family, my support for your continued courage and support. That's the reason why I do the things I do. Stand. Like my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, said, hey, you can't stand on a lie. You can't build your house on sand. And that's what you did. You tried to build your house on sand. You got to stand on the word of God. You got to stand. Hey. So, until next time, you take care of yourself. Wish each and every one of you the very best.